Hey folks, Mark here from Hijinks RC. Wanted to do a video on a Scalextric digital set that I purchased recently that got me started into the Scalextric side of digital 132nd slot cars. Okay, well here we've got the digital racer set. This is the Lamborghini versus the Bugatti set. Comes with the two cars you see there and the track you see on the front of the box with a digital base and two wired digital controllers. And the set itself here has a decent amount of track with two changeovers, the cars, and the track itself with the transformer. I ended up getting this set coming over from SCX Digital, but I also had some analog cars that I wanted to run, and I knew that the ARC app based controller that Scalextric had released allowed you to run both digital and analog cars just by switching from one to the other. And that was kind of attractive to me because I did have a couple analog cars that I wanted to run and get going and test and tune, and that's kind of why I ended up picking up the Scalextric's digital set. I wanted to see what the quality was like. I wanted to see how the track was, the cars, the controllers, and I started with this set here. Now here we've got the two controllers and the base that came with the digital set. You can run up to 4 cars on this set, and the controllers are pretty nice quality. They felt good. They didn't feel cheap. They operated great. It's got the lane change on the top and the brake button on the bottom. You can interchange the colors on these the tops of these controllers so that you know what car goes to what. But here's the base. Simple to program, simple to use. This was a good set to get started with, just to really get familiar with the quality of SCX or of Scalextric, I'm sorry, and just kind of get familiar with it a little bit. So when I first set up the set, I was impressed with the controllers and the base, and the track felt good. It felt quality. It didn't feel cheap. So I was curious as to how the lane changeover was going to be with Scalextric, and I was pretty surprised at how smooth the lane changeover sections of the track were, and I was very impressed with it, as well as the smoothness of the cars when it was going around the track. Now, one of the reasons I bought this set too is because it had 2 cars in it that are considered to be super resilient cars. They're very tough. They're great for young people, but they're also great for some of the guys that I may have over the house that aren't familiar with or don't have a lot of experience running slot cars. They can run these. These take a beating. They're fast. I've got these to be able to be competitive and have some good performance on the track, but at the same time, getting these in the hands of people who aren't real familiar with slot cars works out pretty good because, like I said, they take a beating. So out of the box, here are the 2 cars, the Bugatti there in blue and the Lamborghini here in yellow. And out of the box, the Lamborghini handled pretty well. It was pretty good to go around the track. I could get it up to speed. Even on the small track that came with the set, it handled pretty well, and I was happy with the car. The Bugatti, on the other hand, was it did not perform real well out of the box. It was the rear end of the car was all over the place. Even going around a corner at just a slow rate of speed, it didn't seem to have the stability that was going to be competitive with the Lamborghini. And one of the ideas behind these cars, especially for the type of racing I do, or I even call it bashing because I don't race competitively. I have guys over, we drink some beers, we eat some good food, and we have some laughs on a slot car track. And what I wanted to achieve with all of these cars that I was going to have guests drive is I wanted to achieve a level of performance that was equal to one another. So that's what I set out to do with these 2 cars, and I'll tell you the differences or the changes that I made to these 2 cars. Now the Lamborghini, like I said, right out of the box, it handled really pretty well. The only thing I did to this car was I put on some of the silicone rear tires that made a big improvement on this car that was already pretty decent out of the box. These do come digital chip ready out of the set, so they are ready to go. I left the front tires stock, silicone on the rear, and that really improved the performance of a car that was already pretty decent out of the box. Like I had mentioned, the Bugatti was terrible out of the box. It just really wasn't fun to drive at all. So what I had to do to this car was put on the rear silicone tires. That did make a difference. It lowered the profile as well. But I also had taken a small magnet out of an SCX car and I put it in front of the motor. So the motor itself has I moved the long magnet over the axle and then put a small magnet in front of the motor from an SCX digital car that I had lying around that wasn't in use anymore. And that dramatically improved the performance of this car and made it equal to be competitive with the Lamborghini. So it was fun to drive these two around the track and competitively have the cars race against each other without one having a distinct advantage over the other. So with keeping in mind having folks over the house and racing on the track, especially those that aren't real familiar with performance and really how to drive 132nd slot cars, I'm going to build up a small collection of super resilient cars that I can put in the hands of these guys when they come over, and they can have a lot of fun and be competitive with one another, again, without one car having a totally distinct advantage over the other. So another car that I ended up adding to the fleet was this here, this Camaro. This Camaro here, SCX, digital slot car. I had purchased. They're relatively inexpensive. You get these for about $30 with 30 to 35 bucks, sometimes free shipping. They come analog, and you can easily convert them to digital with the C1327 digital chip. It takes about 30 seconds to change that over. So that's what I did with these cars. But what I had to do with this car, because again, out of the box, it was fine, but it wasn't going to compete with the other two cars. It had a tendency to fishtail quite a bit, and with the higher center of gravity, or the roll tendency with this car was greater than the lower CG cars like these two here. So what I had to do was just figure out a way to make this competitive with the other two cars so that it could be enjoyable for everybody to run at the same time. So with this car, I ended up adding the silicone tires to the back. It makes a massive difference, as we all know. But with this car, I had to move or add a magnet here. There's one over the rear axle. You can see that there. But I added a magnet there, and just by doing that, it made the car handle quite a bit better and able to compete with the other two cars on an equal platform. Because, like I said, we don't race non-magnet. We're just really trying to have fun and be competitive in a basement type of setting. So adding these cars to the set was great, because it does allow guys to be equal when they're racing against each other. I'll probably add, maybe a couple more with the current track that I have right now. The layout, more than 3 to 4 cars is going to be tough to. It'll be a lot of traffic. You can add up to 6 cars with the ARC base, but I think maybe 3 to 4 would be fine. All right, so what I'll do is I'll take these cars for a couple laps around the track, and keep in mind my normal disclaimer is I'm filming and trying to drive at the same time, which isn't easy to do, but at least it'll give you an idea of what these cars are like going around the track. So here we go. there you go. A little bit too much throttle, but you get an idea. The car runs really pretty good. It's pretty smooth and quiet. Changes lanes great. But that's the Lamborghini. Now we'll get the Bugatti out. All right, here's the Bugatti. All right, there you go. My driving skills aren't the greatest, but as you can see, the cars, they run great. They run smooth. So I guess my ending point would be that you can make some of these cars with just a little bit of changes to them. You can make these cars work pretty well and operate on your layout in a fashion that's going to be competitive for everybody, and they're going to have a good time doing it. So that's it for now. We will talk again later. And talk to you soon.